to Rules, Confirmation, and Public Elections for the second time today. Today is Tuesday, December 6th, and we will get rolling. So I am the chair, Kathleen, I'm here, Councilor Evans, Hancock, Lee, Rosenberg, Rutherford, and we're almost all here. All right, so the chair detects quorum, and we are going to run through a quick consent agenda. So if anybody has any things, I am thinking item number 1, ours, that's the, is it Salem Health? Is that how you say it? Okay, I'm gonna go with that. We're gonna go with item number 2 on consent. I'll go through these, just y'all holler if you don't want it on there. Hancock, yours is on consent, energy stuff. American Muslim Advisory Council's on consent. Late filed, we will be coming back to on second reading. That is not on consent, and then elections and confirmations cannot go on consent. So that takes us back to resolutions. Is everybody okay with that as our consent agenda? All right, seeing no opposition, we'll run through this. RS 2022-1880 by Stiles and others. It recognizes the 30th anniversary of Salem Health. That is on the consent agenda for approval. Item number 2, 2022-1892 by Benedict and others. It recognizes the LGBTQ community and remembering the victims of the Club Q shooting in Colorado Springs, Colorado. That is on the consent agenda for approval. Item number 3, RS 2022-1893 by Hancock. Congratulates Metro Water Services as the recipient of the 2022 Tennessee Solar Energy Industries Association Solar Championship Award. Mouthful.
Thank you for saying all of that.
Resolution RS 2022-1894 by Sepulveda and others. It recognizes the 10th anniversary of the American Muslim Advisory Council. That is our consent agenda. Everybody is still all right with that. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Any abstentions? With that, they are all approved forward. Taking us to late items. We've got late filed ordinance by Councilman Taylor, authorizes building material restrictions and requirements for 0.26 acres of proposed specific plan zoning district for the property located at 3138 and property at 3140 Parthenon Avenue to permit 10 multifamily residential units. So committee, we are only ruling on Rule 13, emergency filing. Councilman Taylor, why is this an emergency?
Public hearing is today for the bill that is tracking with. There was a staff error that didn't file this bill on time. Therefore, we're late filing. I'm deferring, and hopefully we can track at the public hearing, next public hearing meeting.
If you're deferring the public hearing tonight, is that correct?
That's correct.
Then this could be on first reading next meeting and be timely filed. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So there does not seem to be an emergency here. Is that correct?
That is incorrect.
Okay, tell me how it's not going to track.
So it's a late file bill. As we move forward, it can be filed on the next one, but it can be filed today and move forward and go ahead and be added to.
But there's not an emergency. It would still be on second reading when your other bill goes up for public hearing.
Right.
So I
received it yesterday from planning, as opposed to when I received the bill a month ago from planning, and so now we're here to move forward.
So suspending the rules tonight still has it tracking the same as if it was filed timely next meeting. We are still in a discussion of what is an emergency as a body. We have not defined that in our rules. And Councilman Taylor, I'm sorry that you're the first to catch my wrath on this, but I do not think this is an emergency because it will still be tracking for your public hearing that you're
So will the public hearing still happen tonight?
He said he's deferring the public hearing.
So the public hearing will be deferred. These need to be tracking together, so you can't pass one without the other with the materials, restricted materials. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask, what date are you going to defer the public hearing to?
First meeting in January. So you can't have the public hearing until then. Yeah.
Okay.
So this would be, so it would be, so this bill.
They both will have a public hearing. So we'll, hopefully, the goal is to take both of these on at public hearing at the same time as we've done.
And it would be timely filed next and still track.
Does this have to be filed tonight to be able to notice the public hearing on it for the first meeting in January.
I was just thinking that same
That's what I-
thing, and I feel like maybe it does need a 20 days notice, and I don't know if noticing the one bill is sufficient to cover this one, to cover the materials.
Because you have to notice both, so both bills will have to be noticed, because both
Okay,
bills
so
have a public
there's,
hearing.
so there's another component that makes it an emergency. Okay, can we check that with the clerk to make sure that it is, that it is a notice issue? Can somebody, Councilman Taylor, can I roll you to the heel?
I would,
Just to get it on the record, as we are starting to talk about what's an emergency.
if we could get an answer prior to the hill, that would be.
Well, you've just got a few things before you. I'll take you up as soon as we have an answer.
Okay.
Councilman
I
Druffel,
may
are you
sneak
ready?
away, Chair.
Well, I don't know if I want to.
I saw you turn around
I like
and try to
it.
leave.
Hopefully I'll have a little bit better answers.
We have 133 items on tonight's agenda, so late filed things could
It
just
does
add
need
to that.
21 days notice. I just got
does
a
need-
mysterious
and
text
does
from
the-
someone I trust.
And does the math, can you count out the math?
Interesting.
The math wouldn't be 21 days, Margaret, I'm assuming?
Does she have
I think it's 20, is it 20 days or 21 days for the public notice? I thought it was 20. For the
Either
public.
way, I think that we probably need
So
to be
the
there
emergency filing reason for Councilman Taylor is so it will be publicly noticed in accordance with the law. So
So
but I guess what I would like to hear from him is why it couldn't be deferred again. Because SPs can't be, because this is it's not just late filed, right, Margaret, but it's an SP, and SPs, did we change that in the rules? I thought SPs could not be, has this already gone to planning?
I think that's, is this an SP? I don't know that this is an SP.
It says it's an SP.
Yes, it's a specific plan zoning district. It is just the materials bill, and so I don't know if that needs to have gone to planning. I know it was a planning error that caused it to be late filed, and it didn't come with the companion bill, which is properly before the council at this point. So I would-
We maybe just need to call Councilman Taylor back so we can know why it has to be heard in January rather than in February then. So if somebody wants to wave at him, that'd be great. Councilman Druffel, you've got a late filed amendment to BL 2022-1533, an ordinance accepting an easement on certain properties located at 7034 Charlotte Pike. We're not getting into parcel numbers tonight. Owned by Lowe's Home Centers LLC. So this is Rule 13 emergency filing only. Councilman Druffel, what is your emergency?
Yeah, we have amendment by Councilmember Rosenberg, and we wanted to clean up, we think, or add some language to that particular one. It's on second reading, we can't do it on third, so we feel like we need to do it now.
Councilman Rosenberg, your bill tonight, you plan to move forward and you're not willing to defer one meeting to get this properly filed. Is that correct?
I have no problem deferring it. How's the administration feel?
We don't,
I think if the late file can be added tonight, we're not anxious to defer the underlying legislation, but I think the amendment and late file amendment can be worked out, it's my sense.
So is there a reason the bill has moved forward tonight? Because actually for an amendment on third reading, loophole in the rule is you don't have to come to us. If it's an emergency, you come to us. Late filed on third, you don't.
Right.
I mean,
Well,
timely filed on third, you don't.
I think directionally,
We're
the
close.
overall is part of a greater plan strategically to work on the Brook Meeting County. So, yeah, it's an important aspect to carry forward.
Just really trying to impress upon the emergency aspect of what we're discussing and try it. Nothing against the council members, nothing, I mean, this is a piece of legislation that's important, I know. It needs to move forward tonight is what I'm hearing from the administration on second reading.
So the rehousing efforts are underway now. I should shut up and let Ms. Calvin tell you the
Well,
status of that.
I think she's nodding, yes.
Yes, I'm agreeing, definitely.
April can probably, our director can talk about it.
Because of the rehousing efforts, this doesn't need to be delayed 2 weeks.
Right.
All right, with that, I think that the emergency filing is not an issue. Anybody else? I think housing people qualifies for an emergency.
So we are qualifying it as an emergency?
I'm okay qualifying it as emergency and not objecting. Anybody have any other thoughts or questions? Councilman, are you okay?
It's good, thank you.
It's your bill.
Oh, yeah, I'm fine.
Okay.
I'm fine with the
Okay.
late file nation.
So,
No problem.
let's just take a vote. Are we all in favor of letting this be an okay as an emergency file, or are we,
Yes.
given the explanation that this will, based on the fact that this is getting people into housing? And if we delay that, it could delay people getting into housing. All right, so it sounds like the committee is okay, and at least we won't be objecting. Councilman Taylor walked back in.
He's right in there.
So Councilman
Over there.
Taylor, we are just confirming that, that there is a reason to not push your public hearing to February because of the notice, if it was timely filed at the next meeting as it could be.
Okay, so I did get answers. There is not enough time to notice properly if we do not file.
And if
If we wait, it will go to February.
and there's a problem with it going to February,
I don't have a problem with that.
would you, I mean, this is your.
I'm sure
late file.
someone would have a problem.
Okay, all right. If this gets deferred to February, then I'm calling you back into the committee. Okay, it sounds like we have established your emergency is dealing with notice and a staff typo or what have you. I am okay calling this an emergency tonight. Anybody else okay with this?
Yes.
Tom Cash is okay with it, so. All right, it sounds like the committee will not be objecting to you tonight. Thank you, Councilman, for going through the hot seat of emergencies.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Committee.
I'm gonna pay for this later, I know. Bills on second reading, Council Lady Sepulveda, hot seat. BL 2022-1528 amends Title II, Title VI, Title VII of the Metropolitan Code to amend the membership of various boards and commissions. We have a motion and a second, and I'm gonna turn the floor over to Council Lady Sepulveda to explain her legislation.
Yeah, I need to defer it one meeting,
Okay.
because, I have been working with the administration on a substitute, and we just need a little bit more time to get the language and all of it, since it is long, and we had a meeting last week with several of the board chairs.
I appreciate you working with others, and but if you come back as an emergency, we'll chat then. Just kidding. So the motion is to defer one meeting. I have a second. All those in favor of deferring one meeting?
Aye.
All right. Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you, Council Lady. We'll see you next time. Taking us to, do we have Council Lady Stiles? Do we have?
Was just looking
Yeah,
in the
she
window.
was just looking in the window. She
Is
probably-
anybody here being nominated by Council Lady Stiles? All right. I'm going to roll that down 2 spots.
Nope, there
Do you
she
have?
is.
Do you have your nominee?
Yep.
All right. If we can have, Andy, do you mind telling me how to pronounce your last name?
Bhakta. Bhakta, yeah.
Pronounce. I probably could have sounded that out. I'm sorry. If you don't mind scooting your seat forward, and Mr. Joshua Haston. If you'll scoot, just roll on up too. So this is the Industrial Development Board election to fill one vacancy for a term expiring on September 19th, 2023. If I will ask you all the same 3 questions. Are you Davidson County residents?
Yes,
Are you registered voters in Davidson County?
Yes.
Do you serve on any other boards and commission in Davidson County?
no,
Has anything changed in about the questionnaire that y'all filled out since you filled it out?
no, ma'am.
Okay, we'll start with Councilman Rutherford. Any questions for the applicants?
Yes, just in general, if you would, this is for both of you, tell us a little bit about why you want to serve in this capacity.
Yeah, my name is Andy Bhakta. I want to serve in this capacity because I have a lot of business experience. I love our city, love our metropolitan government, and I want to figure out a way to give back and be a servant back to our community in a business advisory role.
Josh Haston with LBG Development. I also have a lot of business experience here. We are a developer primarily of workforce and affordable housing, where we deal almost exclusively, or not exclusively, but heavily in dealing with pilots and tax-exempt bonds, which bonds and pilots are a huge component of the IDB, and I feel like I have a lot of experience to add to that. Additionally, previously I was an educator, so I understand that a lot of these bills that we pass through, these jobs that we bring to the city have an impact on our teachers, as well as my background in urban planning Also, these bills have a huge impact on our transit systems, our infrastructure, and I feel like I have a lot to add in terms of helping make sure that we're bringing forth good proposals for our city.
If you had to pick one thing in your background that we need to know, what would it be?
Real estate, finance.
Same.
Hospitality management, hotel management is my background. Love our community, love our people, and love being hospitable. Pilot to our community.
Great, thank you. Councilor Evans, anything?
You've both been in front of us before previously, right?
Yes, ma'am.
What did you do personally or professionally since the last time you were here to vie for this position to make yourself a better candidate this time?
Well, knock on wood, we'll close on financing on another affordable housing project in Davidson County on Friday. So we're working continually to make sure we're bringing forth more affordable housing. And again, that takes a lot of collaboration in terms of dealing with neighborhoods, in terms of working with politicians, in terms of making sure we're doing the right thing on the background, dealing with communities and giving back. I feel like what we do in my day job is that in a nutshell. And just really excited. I hope I get this opportunity. If not, I will continue to try to get nominated.
Yeah, since last time I was here, the hotel management company, we've expanded and we started managing other hotels, one in Smyrna, one in Sumner County. So the hotel management company side has grown. I've also been involved in real estate development. So my company's also developing a hotel in Music Row right now. So we've been in construction. So I've had a lot of construction experience. A lot of also community service in Antioch with Council Lady Joy Stiles. So through an organization called CNAP. So.
Thank you.
Councilor Hancock.
Who is your council member?
Joy Stiles.
Brett Withers.
And you went to Belmont, great local school, and I just have to say, go Vols.
Go Vols.
Appreciate all the local community schools attending here and the Tennessee support. Thank you very much for your repeated interest. I really appreciate it.
So both of y'all have kind of talked about your business background and have used pronouns of we, which I do a lot too. I think it's, what makes you a good candidate? What do you bring to the table?
I feel like I can bring diversity to the table. I feel like, being in the Antioch community, we work with many different ethnicities, many different cultures. And so I feel like I can also view things in a different lens. And I feel like I'll bring diversity, a lot of business experience, a lot of business background. I grew up in the motel business. So bring a different lens in terms of a business, a hospitality perspective, and also real estate development perspective.
So it's great. I agree. So what I'll say is that I work for a company that is one of the largest affordable housing developers in the country. I personally bring experience in working with similar organizations like the IDB and other municipalities. So I'm hoping to bring forth best practices in terms of hopefully we can have new programs at the IDB that I know other IDBs do. So hopefully we can change some policies and just mix it up a little bit.
And if either one of your organizations brought something that was eligible for the IDB, whether it was going to go before the IDB or not, just if they started considering it, would you immediately recuse yourself from those discussions?
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Councilman Rosenberg?
Nothing bad.
Council Lady Lee?
Yeah, so on this board, working with this, if you had to pick one thing that you wanted to change or improve, what would that thing be? And I'm starting from this way to this way. So you keep putting it to him each time, so I'm going to.
Good question. I think what I would like to do is just to figure out how amenable the IDB is into changing their application process. I think, no offense, IDB's application process is very easy. If you look at that form, it has not been updated since like 2008. A lot has changed since then. And also, like, a lot of things happen at different IDBs, such as the issuance of bond fees. So if the Sports Authority is considering issuing a bazillion dollars in bonds, a simple issuance fee like that, whether that's, let's just say, $1.5 billion in bonds, if they charge a 10 basis point issuance fee, and that goes to affordable housing or schools or whatever it is, that's $15 million off the top. So I think those are just out-of-the-box proposals that we can look at as a city in terms of making sure that if we're attracting all these good jobs, that we're actually scratching our pencils and doing all that we can for the people of Nashville.
Okay.
Yeah, in terms of changing.
Or improving.
Or improving, I think I don't really have anything to add. What I would like to propose would be a collaborative effort and collaborative discussions between each and every one of you. And just making a bullet point list of, hey, what are some things that we could improve on? What are some areas that we could strengthen? And what are some weaknesses? So getting collaborative input from each and every one of you. And then, having a brainstorming session on how we can improve is the only thing I could offer in terms of making changes right now to the IDB.
Thank you both.
Thank you, Council Lady Lee. Any other questions or discussion? All right, so I'm gonna make the motion that both candidates have reached the qualifications to be voted on the floor. I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Any not voting? All right, thank you. We'll see you in the big room.
Thanks, everyone.
So that takes us to the Metro Action Commission appointment of Pastor Michael Cousin. It's just Cousin, right? Nothing crazy? Nothing? Great. I was like, this should be an easy one. All right, so your term would be expiring November 15th, 2025. Will you please scoot up and join us? The basic questions are, you live in Davidson County, are you a registered voter in Davidson County, are you on any other boards or commissions?
No. I live in Davidson County, and I'm a registered voter, and I'm not on any other committees.
Great, and so this is your first appointment?
Yes.
And how did you get roped into it?
Well, I'd worked with the Nashville Career Advancement Center, which was part of Metro government, for 21 years, and I had did some work with Metro Action and one of their programs in their GED program. So we had money in our agency to work with 16 to 21 year olds. So while I would recruit them for our program and give them support, such as being able to get them internships where they got paid while they were working on their GED, help them with those that were trying to enter college with doing the paperwork that was necessary. And so, and of course, I knew all the other kind of work that they were doing as far as assisting people with housing and rent and all that kind of stuff. And that was something similar that my church has done over the past few years. We were a satellite station for Second Harvest Food Bank for about 7 years. And even during the pandemic, we tried to keep our doors open as long as possible because we knew people still had to eat. And so knowing that Metro Action is an agency that tries to improve the lives of people, and that's what I've tried to have done most of my life. I worked at Bethlehem Center with youth, senior citizens, helped organize a Meals on Wheels program that our church was a part of for 32 years. Also worked with the Pencil Foundation, where I worked with young people who were getting ready to graduate from high school, and I also had a dropout prevention program that I worked in. So it's kind of like something that's, I guess you might say, that's a part of me of wanting to try to see people improve their lives.
I think you've covered all aspects.
Not sure what else to ask.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, well, Council Lady Lee, you got anything?
Would it be appropriate now to do a motion?
I think it is more than appropriate.
I have one
Okay.
question. Being that I'm on the Metro Action Commission, I was
Okay.
wondering what you thought we should tackle next, or if you think the amount of projects we have right now are sufficient.
Well, let me put it, let's see.
He's a
I
first-time
think-
appointment.
Right, so I thank you all, from what I've read and what I know, I think you are doing a great job in trying to see to the needs of folk. But sometimes I think the process is a little slow about getting the assistance that people need, and maybe some of the red tape could be looked at and how you can get that assistance that folks need. And one of the reasons I say that was two of my church members were renting houses that they had during the pandemic. And so, of course, they did not put the people out when they couldn't work. And so when the money came down to try to reimburse them, it did take them quite some time before they got the money reimbursed to them for the length of time that the people were in there without them getting any rent at all. So I just, looking at some of those things, and I hope you don't count that against me if I do get elected.
I'm in agreement, so I will not count that against you. I'm in total agreement.
No, that's wonderful. I think that was something we as council members heard as well. We got emails on that as well. So I'm glad that you'll be bringing that up. We do have a motion and a second, and so all those in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Any abstentions? We approve you into the chambers, please. Work Release Commission reappointment of Miss Lauren B. Gators. For a term. Yeah. We'll just get them on a track later and wheel them in and out, mass transit. This term is gonna be expiring January 1, 2027. So, tell us about your experience on Work Release Commission and why you're willing to continue serving.
Actually, I was appointed to the Work Release Commission in 1975. I've been on the Work Release Commission for 47 years.
Holy moly.
Wow. Do you know that this would be to sign up for more?
Yeah.
They sort of rope you in. I retired twice from the same institution, so once you retire, you should go away. And they said, no, come back for 1 year. And I came back, and 14 years later, they said, okay, you can go now.
This is for 4 more years. So we're making a note, Margaret, that we need a proclamation for her as well. So you do have a fabulous commitment to this commission,
Yes,
and
I do.
that's wonderful.
Yes, I do. The first time I was on it was when, I don't know if any of you even remember Sheriff Fate Thomas. He's the one who started it. And I was at Tennessee State University in criminal justice, and he said, help us out. I said, okay. And it got into my blood, I guess, because we're doing something good for the families of the people that are in jail and prison. And it's just important. It's important, And if they can't make it in there, they can't make it out. So we're gonna take care of them. Yeah.
Councilman Rosenberg, anything?
No, fantastic.
Council Lady, yes. Council Lady Hancock?
I'm still stunned and impressed and thankful.
Thank you.
Council Lady Evans?
Nope, I'm good. Thank you for being willing to carry on.
Rutherford?
I'm good. Appreciate your service.
Yes, I am, wow. I think motion to approve is seconded.
Aye.
Yes, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any against, any abstentions, because you won't be counted as against or abstention? Thank you so much for your service.
Thank
That
you.
is truly a lot.
We'll see you in the chamber.
So that takes us to Councilman Cash, who's patiently been waiting. And so this is a proposed rule change to Rule 8, so it's automatic deferral by committee action. And so, Councilman, why don't you, if what I would prefer to see us happen, because we're at 6-ish, is is to have a little discussion, but probably defer this, just so we can, everybody has seen it, and if there anything else that needs to be added to it, if you are okay with that. If you're not okay with that, we can discuss that.
I got an asterisk that I'll say I'm kind of okay with it, but I'll give you my asterisk at the end. So there were a couple of things that happened at the last meeting that I think referred or that drew my attention to Rule 8. One was that Councilmember Allen in committee deferred the parking minimums bill for 2 meetings, and there were some folks who were confused and looking at the rule and thinking that that meant an automatic deferral, but it does not, because it was not a 1-meeting deferral. So the first part of what I've changed in this is to specify that basically it currently says any ordinance or resolution that receives a committee recommendation of deferral from any committee, blah, 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 blah. There's something at the end that says shall be automatically deferred more than one time or more than 1 meeting pursuant to this paragraph. I really think for clarity, the 1 meeting needs to be up near the top as well. A recommendation of deferral for 1 meeting, because it isn't explicit that it's only talking about 1 meeting, just that it shall be deferred for 1 meeting. So I think that clarifies it better. And honestly, I believe that what I'm doing with this rule change is only clarifying stuff. I put my English teacher hat on and not proposing a massive change here. It's really, I think, to clarify. The second thing is the second thing was that I have a bill about right-of-way obstructions. And in committee last time, Councilmember Henderson had some issues with something and wanted me to defer it, so I deferred it 1 meeting, and then in the full council, I deferred it, but I also talked about it a little bit, and I was it was brought to my attention that if it's automatically deferred, I'm not really supposed to talk about it. So but I don't think automatic is defined, that makes that clear, so I put in there without debate or discussion, and then later the word automatically. Now, I'm gonna say this, I'm not sold on that change, but that's what I'm being told by staff, that's what's supposed to happen, that there could be some, discretion of the presiding officer, but that if it's deferred 1 meeting, we're not supposed to talk about it, is my understanding of the reading of the rule, but I don't think it's clear enough. However, I can see instances where there should be debate or discussion, so I added it in there because that's my understanding of what the rule is supposed to mean. But I'm okay if somebody amends it and saying, no, maybe we shouldn't tie our hands like that. And I will remind you that based on the end of that first paragraph, it does say that it can only automatically be deferred in this way 1 time. So it's not like you're gonna have a succession of 1 meeting deferrals and you can't talk about it any of those times. It's just the first time it's done, right? So, but I'm open to some discussion, and I will say, and then the second paragraph was really like, I think I asked for the word committee to be in there, but I believe it was staff that other 2 things or 3 things that are in there, I believe was staff, just to clarify. I think at the end, something about consider withdrawn, just to be clear about the status of the bill. And I think the moving something to a different place in the sentence, which I agree with, but was not my initial suggestion. So my asterisk is this. If we're gonna defer it, let's defer it for 2 meetings, so I can talk about it tonight and get people thinking about it. Does that make sense? Because if I defer it for 1 meeting, my understanding is I'm not allowed to talk about it. And I want people to consider.
Some sort of irony to this whole thing.
I truly want people to consider this.
Whether we do 1 meeting or 2, right? Yes. Okay. I've got a question. Let me read this out loud to make sure. So the last sentence, the last part of the first paragraph, that no ordinance or resolution shall be automatically deferred more than 1 time or more than 1 meeting pursuant to this paragraph. So if a committee, just to hone down on this deferral for 1 meeting, if we this is to only trigger 1 meeting, but down here where it says more than 1 meeting, am I just not reading this right? Or for more than one?
I think that's saying, I think what it.
Is it more than,
It's saying
more than one
committee
committee meeting, more than one council
It
meeting?
would be more than one council meeting. So, you know, the way that it is treated right now, it comes to a committee for the first time. A committee defers for one meeting. It automatically is deferred on the floor for one meeting, one council meeting. If the committee defers for two meetings, then it is not automatically deferred. It is up for discussion and debate and a motion to defer, which could be voted down, right? So this changes it to, I think the goal here was to change it to make it clear in the rule that that's what happens. Because right now, the way the rule is written, it says a deferral, committee recommendation for deferral shall be automatically deferred, but there's no real description of what automatically deferred means in all the rules.
Yeah, it's that last, my understanding is that's that last sentence that tells you, this is talking about one meeting deferrals, but I don't think because of the placement, that's clear. So I think that one meeting needs to be up.
Well, it's in the first part of the sentence too. It says that it shall be automatically deferred for one council meeting. So if it's deferred in the committee, it's automatically deferred for one council meeting.
Right.
And so that's been interpreted to mean the automatic deferral is only if the committee deferral was also for one meeting.
See, I'm not
And,
sure it says
and are
that,
we
but
designating
it's-
between a committee deferral as opposed to the sponsor deferral? Like if the sponsor requests a deferral or whether the committee, I mean, that kind of gets down to the
It's a
objection of the
committee
sponsor.
recommendation. So if the committee recommendation is for a deferral, then it's automatically deferred for one meeting.
But earlier you said that if it's the first time the committee heard the bill, but it doesn't say that in this legislation.
It says that in the second part of the legislation.
Where?
After provided, however, in the first paragraph, no ordinance or resolution shall be deferred more than one time pursuant to this paragraph. So you
Pursuant to this paragraph, so what if the council member deferred it and wanted to re-refer it to committee, and then the committee deferred at one meeting? Technically, then it would
Then it
not
would-
be able to be spoken
Then
about
it
on
would
the
be the
floor.
automatic deferral.
Right.
Yeah.
So if we didn't want that to happen, if we want it to be, as you inferred, the first time it came to, we should put that in there also.
I'm not following that.
So if he brings us in and says legitimately, there's a couple of things that I wanna change, so I'd like to, defer to next meeting and re-refer to committee. Well, then when it's re-referred to the committee, we could all say, yeah, we don't really wanna talk about today, we're gonna defer, and then he doesn't get to talk about it on the floor and it's automatically deferred again, cause even though it's the second time.
When he did the re-referral to committee, there was a deferral, the committee recommended deferral with re-referral. So that committee recommendation of deferral is an automatic one meeting deferral on the floor.
So if he recommended a 2-meeting deferral the first time, and then when it came back to committee, if we recommended a 1-meeting deferral,
Then it's an automatic deferral on the floor.
so would you recommend we change that wording, or that would be cool?
So Councilor Hancock, you're gonna work on that with,
I will.
Margaret in the
That's-
off-season. One thing that I'd like to bring up here is that, something that has come up a few times is that one committee, even though we've shrunk our committees, one committee defers, another committee doesn't defer, and all it needs is one committee recommendation to move forward on the floor. I would like this to say, any ordinance or resolution that receives any committee recommendation of deferral for one meeting.
It says from any committee.
It does say from any committee.
Then how have we done that, on,
You have-
but on the floor, we've been moving things.
No, we haven't.
If a bill comes
We
through
just-
3 committees and one of them recommends deferral for one meeting, then
Then it's dead, okay.
then it gets
It
deferred.
is done, okay, cool. And then one other question that I had, because I just couldn't remember when I was looking at this. So if I need to defer on the floor because planning hasn't heard my bill yet, does that count as one of my deferrals towards, indefinite deferral?
No, because if it's a planning issue, then presumably it's Title 17, and you're not limited to deferrals on Title 17.
Great. Okay.
think we should
I'm
get
gonna
rid of
blame
excessive
my
deferrals
comments
on
on that I had COVID over Thanksgiving and my memory's shot. Anything else, Tom?
Actually, I want to, back to my asterisk.
Yes.
I'm requesting a 2-meeting deferral rather than one. It actually is talking about ordinances or resolutions that would not apply to a rule change, is that correct? If I defer it one meeting, if this committee defers it.
That's true.
Although, I think there are a couple of issues that I'd like for there to be some discussion about, so I'm happy to defer. I don't think this is like an emergency, like we really need to get this changed.
Before the end of the year.
There's not a notice. Because what I'd love to do is have one more of our, I would like us to get together to talk about fleshing out emergency a little bit more and things. So that was one of the reasons too, that way we're not having, because we have to have 27 votes to pass a rule change. So I'm thinking if we're gonna do this, let's do it once instead of multiple times. So do we think this body can get together before the first January meeting to discuss? No.
Perhaps at the second
How about
December.
New Year's Day? New Year's Day, anybody doing that?
New Year's Eve, please.
Because otherwise this would push the rule change to the second meeting in January.
All right.
Let's talk about it next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, so are we okay maybe coming in early, or coming in maybe the Monday before the next meeting?
You're getting a look from Aaron over there.
Not at 2 o'clock. Not at 2 o'clock, but the Monday before the next meeting, and having a meeting after planning and budget to work on some of these things.
I have a community meeting that night, so.
Well, okay, you're working on your own issues
Huh?
with Margaret separately,
Yeah,
so.
I will.
So, do the rest of us think that we can do that Monday? I believe it's the 19th. I will be fresh off of a spay-neuter clinic, so I will try to bring you all puppies and kittens.
I want my dogs better.
Yes.
Puppies.
Yes. Okay, so it sounds like we will, so Margaret, if we can, if I can work with you to get that scheduled for what I believe is the 19th. And if you need any puppies, so I'm assuming budget is usually at what, 4:30?
Is that your birthday,
So we'd probably be
We
6
can-
o'clock.
Oh,
you
you know what, you shouldn't do it that night, and the reason because.
Well, Hannah can be here.
There are already other
I was gonna-
committee meetings going on.
There's a talk
You're
to
already
Tanya at
getting screwed
Yazoo,
over.
everybody will be there.
Budget will probably run longer that night
Because it's
of the-
Titans.
Yes.
Okay, so then, y'all are the one who wanted to push it to that week, so are we looking at the first week of January then?
Yes.
Could we do it Tuesday?
I don't think there's enough time to go through our emergency stuff.
If we act like it's an emergency, we
We,
can't.
we act like it's an emergency. Okay, I'm gonna work with Margaret to set a date that's not her birthday, and
So,
and yes, Tom, we're gonna
Wait.
we're gonna defer you some amount of time that gives you
but you don't
before us at
have to
some
do that
point.
in this committee meeting?
Oh yeah, so
I
all
move for
those
a
in
one-meeting
favor,
deferral.
yep.
I move to adjourn.
2 meetings.
There's a motion on the
Two or one, two or one, two or one.
One.
2 gets us into January. Tom, you're good with that?
I thought we were gonna do one.
I'm good with
One.
One means that we're
I'm good
doing
with
this on the
either.
20th.
Yes.
One.
So we're gonna be able to get together before the 20th.
Or on.
No.
Okay?
I'm fine with
But if
whichever.
we have to defer one more meeting, we'll
One
defer
meeting,
one.
yeah.
Okay, you take that up with Tom and his asterisk. We're adjourned.
Tom, if you're campaigning a head start to become rules chair eventually?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I mean, you got all the support.